I work at a cafe in Oslo, Norway, and an American couple asked if 20% was enough for their coffee. I told them service was included in the price. The woman looked horrified. "So you just don't get paid?" she asked. I explained, "I earn a living wage with full benefits and vacation time." Her husband interrupted, "But what's your incentive to be nice?" I stood there, stunned. "Being a decent person?" I offered. He shook his head like I was missing something fundamental about human nature. They left coins anyway, looking deeply uncomfortable, like they'd just committed a crime by not leaving more. My friend in Tokyo had an American leave cash on the table and sprint out. She chased him down the street, thinking he forgot his money. He was confused why she was returning it. She was confused why he left it. They stood there, both baffled, until he said, "It's your tip." She tried explaining that tipping in Japan can be insulting, suggesting the business doesn't pay fairly. He looked crushed. "So I just insulted you by being generous?" Most viewers never notice what's actually happening in moments like this. Two economic philosophies colliding in real time. If you're the kind of person who loves catching what others miss, you already belong here. She nodded sympathetically. He apologized 6 times, then paused, then asked if apologizing too much was also insulting. She didn't know how to answer that. Another friend in Copenhagen had someone ask where the tip jar was. He said they don't have one. The customer asked where to leave cash then. "You don't," he explained. The American insisted there must be somewhere. He pointed at the counter. "What about there?" My friend said that's where they make coffee. "Under the register? Still no?" The guy finally left a $20 bill under his saucer, winked dramatically, and whispered, "Our secret." My friend donated it to charity because he genuinely didn't know what else to do with random American currency. These stories used to surprise me. Now they're just Tuesdays. If you already feel that shift, realizing this isn't just about tipping, but about a worldview, stick around. I track these cultural systems full-time so you don't have to. Subscribers don't just watch culture, they understand it. An American woman in my Berlin restaurant asked to speak with management because we had no tipping system. I was the manager. She explained that without tips, there's no accountability. I told her we pay well and have strict hiring standards. She disagreed. Tips keep people honest. It's economics. I noted that Germany has excellent service standards without mandatory tipping. She said that was statistically impossible and asked if I'd read any studies. I'm German. I've lived here my whole life. She insisted I look into it and mentioned something about American business schools teaching proper service industry models. She left a lengthy review about our broken business model and unmotivated staff. Her husband quietly left €10 on the table anyway. She noticed and made him take it back, explaining he was enabling the problem. A man at a gelato stand in Florence demanded to know the customary rate. My coworker said there isn't one. He asked what people usually leave. "Nothing," she said. He was genuinely distressed. "But how do you survive?" She explained her hourly wage, benefits, and paid vacation. He looked suspicious. "That can't be legal," she confirmed. "Italy has labor laws protecting workers." He pulled out his phone to Google Italy gelato worker salary right there at the counter. Found something. Frowned deeply. "This site says you make decent money." She nodded patiently. He seemed almost disappointed, like he'd wanted to save her. "Well, I'm tipping anyway, because it's the right thing to do." He left €2 on a €3 gelato. She tried refusing politely. He insisted firmly. "I know you can't ask for tips, but I can see you need it." She had no idea what he thought he saw on her face. She bought herself a coffee later, still confused. I bartended in Dublin, and an American asked what % Irish people tip. I said maybe 10% if service was exceptional, but most round up the bill. He looked betrayed. "That's it?" I explained. "We're paid properly." He launched into a passionate speech about American restaurant economics. How servers live on tips, how it creates better service through competition and motivation. I listened politely. Then he said, "So you're telling me you'd give me the same service if I tipped nothing?" I confirmed yes, that's literally my job. He tested this theory by ordering complicated drinks all night, asking for modifications, and leaving nothing. Then felt so guilty he came back the next day and left. €50 with an apology note, saying he didn't understand the culture, and felt like a monster. My manager thought it was an elaborate prank or money laundering. A woman in my Auckland cafe asked if we used American or European tipping rules, I said. New Zealand doesn't really have tipping rules. She insisted everywhere has rules. It's just about knowing them. I explained our minimum wage system covers hospitality workers well. She said, right, but for good service. I told her maybe rounding up if someone felt generous. She calculated 20% of her $12 order anyway and left $2.50 in coins, counting each one carefully. Then asked for a receipt for tax purposes. I gave her one. She studied it, then asked where it showed the tip. I said it doesn't. How do you report it then? I explained we don't report tips because they're not standard income here. She looked genuinely alarmed. That's tax evasion. I promised her the New Zealand government wasn't after her $2.50. She didn't seem convinced and asked if she should contact someone. An American at my Budapest hotel called the front desk at midnight asking about porter tipping protocol. I said we don't have porters. He said someone carried his bags upstairs. I explained that was me, the desk attendant, doing my job. He insisted on knowing the rate. I told him it's included in his room price. He asked what I personally would prefer. Nothing, I said honestly. He showed up 10 minutes later in pajamas with $5 American and an energy bar. I know you said no, but I can't not tip. I thanked him for his thoughtfulness. He asked if 5 was enough. I said it was generous. Not by American standards, he worried aloud. I assured him Hungarian standards were different. He left $2 more just in case and asked me not to tell my boss he tipped, seemingly thinking he'd gotten me in trouble or broken some rule. My cousin works at a pharmacy in Brussels and had an American try tipping after buying cold medicine. She politely declined. He asked if that was store policy. It's Belgian policy, she joked. He didn't get the joke. So you're not allowed to accept? She clarified that people just don't tip pharmacists here. He looked around suspiciously, then whispered, "Is your manager watching?" She said no. He slid a €5 note across the counter like a spy movie. Take it. You helped me find the good stuff. The good stuff was paracetamol, the most basic painkiller. She tried explaining again that it wasn't necessary. He put his finger to his lips seriously. Say nothing. He left quickly. She still has the €5 in her wallet, because she felt weird spending someone's generous confusion. A man in my Stockholm bookstore asked if we accepted tips. I said we're a bookstore. He said he knew, but I'd been really helpful finding books. I told him that's my job. He insisted everyone deserves extra for going above and beyond. I explained I hadn't gone above and beyond. I'd just walked him to the section. He disagreed strongly. In America, you'd get at least $5 for this. Told him he didn't need to tip me for directions. He looked distressed, but I want to. Suggested buying a bookmark instead. He bought 3 bookmarks he didn't need and asked if I got commission. I don't. He seemed defeated. My sister works at a Copenhagen hair salon and had an American ask what to tip before the haircut even started. She said it's not expected. He asked what she'd prefer. She said honestly, nothing. He responded, "Come on, really?" Like she was lying. She explained Danish salon culture doesn't include tipping. He said, "But what if you do a really good job?" She told him her good job was already priced in. He got his hair cut, looked happy with it, and stood at the counter calculating numbers on his phone for 5 minutes. Finally left 30% anyway and said, "I know you said not to, but you earned it." She tried one more time. He was already out the door. The wildest was in my Sydney restaurant when an American family asked for separate checks and individual tip lines. We don't do that. The father explained they needed to tip fairly based on who helped them most. I said we pool service. He asked how we track individual performance then. We don't, I admitted. He looked horrified. So lazy workers get the same as hard workers? I explained we're all professionals with stable wages. He pulled out a notepad and started calculating who brought what, when, and how friendly they were. He assigned percentage values to each interaction. His teenage daughter asked why he was doing this. "Teaching you work ethic?" he said seriously. He asked for our names so he could label envelopes. I told him our names, but said we'd prefer he didn't. I insist. He insisted. He left 4 separate envelopes with cash and names spelled wrong. One said Josh, but none of us are Josh. We assume he meant me. I'm James. We split it anyway because that's how we work. He later emailed the restaurant praising Josh for exceptional service and hoping the tip changed his life. It was 15 Australian dollars. This stuff happens constantly. Americans genuinely want to do right by service workers. That's actually beautiful. That generosity comes from a good place, but they're so convinced their system is universal that they can't process alternatives. They've been told tipping equals caring, so not tipping feels cruel, even when you explain it's unnecessary. They'll argue with locals about local customs. They'll sneak money like they're freedom fighters. They'll calculate percentages on napkins in countries where calculators aren't needed. I've learned that when Americans offer tips abroad, just smile and accept if they insist. Donate it, split it, buy yourself lunch, whatever. They're trying to be good people in the only way they know how. And honestly, in a world where people can be awful, someone trying too hard to be generous isn't the worst problem to have. Next time you're abroad, maybe ask first. We'll tell you the truth. If you want this level of clarity every week, the kind that makes travel make sense, subscribe. Not for me. For future you who refuses to be the confused American with a handful of coins and no context,